In the busy streets of Japan during the early 1900s, survival was a daily struggle for many families. But for one little boy, broken bicycles and noisy engines weren't problems, they were wonders. That boy was Soichiro Honda. Born in 1906 in a small village called Komyo in Shizuoka Prefecture, Soichiro grew up in poverty. His father worked as a blacksmith, repairing bicycles, and his mother was a weaver. Life was tough. Sometimes there wasn't even enough food on the table. Yet, while others saw hardships, young Soichiro found inspiration. He loved exploring his father's workshop, playing with tools, and watching sparks fly from the hammer on the anvil. One unforgettable day, he saw a car pass through his village for the very first time. The ground shook, smoke filled the air, and Soichiro ran barefoot behind it, filled with excitement. At that moment, he made a promise to himself. One day, he wouldn't just watch cars, he would create them. But dreams alone couldn't build an empire. With little education and almost no money, Soichiro left his home at just 15 years old and moved to Tokyo. He found work as an apprentice at a small auto repair shop. There, he swept floors, fetched tools, and cleaned engines. To others, it was just dirty work, but to Soichiro, it was the classroom where his future was being built. He faced many failures. He was scolded for mistakes, laughed at for asking too many questions, and often felt humiliated. But instead of giving up, he used every failure as fuel. His hands became rough, his lungs filled with smoke, but his mind grew sharper every day. Slowly, he began mastering the art of machines, not through books, but through hard work, experiments, and endless nights of learning. After long days in the workshop, he would return to his small apartment and sketch new engine designs by candlelight. He dreamed of creating engines that were faster, lighter, and more efficient. People thought he was just a poor boy with impossible ideas, but in Soichiro's mind, he was already building the foundation for something much bigger. The story of Honda is more than just cars and motorcycles. It's about determination. It's about a boy who turned struggles into strength and failures into stepping stones. From a small village workshop to becoming one of the biggest names in the automobile world, Soichiro Honda proved that passion and persistence can change history. And it all started with that barefoot boy, chasing a car down a dusty road, running after a dream he refused to let go. The world was moving fast, and Soichiro Honda refused to be left behind. From a young age, he worked in garages, sweeping floors, and learning everything he could about engines. Over time, he became skilled at fixing cars, but repairing them wasn't enough for him. He wanted to create something new. In his early 20s, Honda opened a small workshop. There, he spent endless hours experimenting, using every nut and bolt to chase his vision. The journey wasn't easy. It was filled with failures, criticism, and challenges that would make most people quit. But Honda wasn't most people. For him, every failure was a lesson, and every obstacle was a reason to push harder. One of his first big ideas was to design a piston ring, an important part of car engines. He worked tirelessly, often skipping meals and selling his own belongings just to keep going. When he finally built a prototype, he proudly presented it to Toyota. But to his shock, Toyota rejected it, saying it wasn't good enough for mass production. For many, that would have been the end. But not for Honda. Instead of giving up, he went back to school, studied metallurgy, and kept improving his design. Neighbors laughed at him, calling him crazy for wasting his life on machines that always failed. But Honda ignored them. He kept working day and night until his piston rings finally met Toyota's high standards. After years of effort, he succeeded. Just as things were looking up, World War II broke out. His factory was destroyed in an air raid. Everything he had worked for was gone in an instant. Most people would have walked away, But Honda refused to give up. Using whatever scraps he could find, even melting down old military equipment, he rebuilt his tools and kept going. When gasoline became scarce after the war, he had another idea. He attached small engines to bicycles, creating motorized bikes. This invention became the foundation of Honda's motorcycle business. At a time when people in Japan were struggling to survive, these bikes gave them hope, freedom, and a way to move forward. Honda's true strength wasn't just in engineering, it was in his mindset. He believed failure was the best teacher. He once said, "Success can only be achieved through repeated failure and introspection." Every rejection, every broken machine, every setback taught him something new. By the late 1940s, he officially founded Honda Motor Company. What started as an engine strapped to a bicycle grew into one of the biggest names in the world of automobiles and motorcycles. Soichiro Honda's story teaches us something powerful. Greatness doesn't mean never failing. It means getting back up, no matter how many times life knocks you down. The boy who once fixed broken bicycles in his father's shop went on to build a company that redefined transportation worldwide. And this was just the beginning of his incredible journey. After World War II, Japan was struggling to rebuild. Most companies were barely surviving. But Soichiro Honda saw things differently. He saw opportunity. With determination and a dream, he turned his small workshop into something much bigger. At first, he built simple motorized bicycles that gave people hope. But Honda wanted more. He wanted to create machines that could move not just Japan, but the whole world. In 1949, he introduced his first real motorcycle, the Dream D-Type. It was affordable, stylish, and reliable. For many people, it wasn't just a motorcycle, it was a sign of freedom and a fresh start. Workers, students, and families could now travel more easily, and soon Honda's engines filled the streets of Japan. What began as a tiny garage was quickly becoming a powerful brand. But success didn't come easily. Big names like Yamaha already ruled the motorcycle market, and many doubted Honda could compete. Instead of giving up, Honda pushed harder. He promoted his bikes with bold ads, entered racing competitions, and kept improving his designs. Each race was more than just about winning. It was proof that Honda's machines were built with quality and strength. Victory after victory helped him gain respect across the globe. By the 1950s and 60s, Honda motorcycles weren't just popular in Japan, they were taking over the world. In America, Honda launched the famous campaign, "You meet the nicest people on a Honda." This completely changed how people saw motorcycles. Instead of being linked only to rebels and toughness, Honda made them friendly, fun, and family-friendly. From young people to office workers, everyone wanted a Honda. Soon, the company became the largest motorcycle maker in the world, a title it still holds today. But Soichiro Honda didn't stop at motorcycles. He set his sights on cars. Competing with giants like Ford, General Motors, and Mercedes-Benz seemed impossible for a small Japanese company. Still, Honda believed in taking risks. In 1963, he launched his first vehicles, the T360 mini truck and the S500 sports car. These cars were small, efficient, and unique compared to the big luxury models of the time. At first, critics laughed at Honda's cars, saying they couldn't compete with global brands. But Honda had something different: innovation. While others focused on size and luxury, Honda focused on efficiency, reliability, and affordability. His cars weren't just for the rich. They were made for everyday people. Slowly, Honda earned its place in the global car industry. Behind all of this was Honda's unique way of thinking. He encouraged his engineers to take risks, try new things, and not fear failure. He often said, "Do not copy. Create something new." Unlike other companies that stuck to strict hierarchies, Honda gave freedom to his team, believing that mistakes were part of learning and progress. By the late 1960s, Honda was no longer just a motorcycle brand or a small automaker. It had become a global symbol of innovation and Japan's rebirth. The boy who once ran barefoot after cars had built machines that now raced across highways and tracks worldwide. And yet Honda's journey of challenges and achievements was only just beginning. Honda was once known mainly for motorcycles, but its founder, Soichiro Honda, never believed in stopping at good enough. For him, every success was just the beginning of a bigger challenge. By the 1960s and 70s, Honda had become famous worldwide, but Soichiro wanted more. He wanted to prove that Honda machines were not only affordable, but also unbeatable. And the toughest stage to prove this? The world of racing. When Honda announced its entry into Formula One racing in the mid-1960s, many laughed. Competing against European giants like Ferrari, Lotus, and McLaren seemed impossible for a Japanese company that had only recently started making cars. But Soichiro Honda didn't see it as a risk. He saw racing as the ultimate test of innovation. He often said, "Racing improves the breed," meaning every challenge on the track would help create better cars for the road. The early days were rough. Honda struggled, engines failed, and wins were out of reach. But instead of giving up, Soichiro and his engineers worked harder, constantly improving their designs. In 1965, just 1 year after joining Formula One, Honda shocked the world by winning the Mexican Grand Prix. The same company that critics mocked now stood at the top of global racing. It wasn't just a win, it was a bold statement that Honda had truly arrived. Outside the racetrack, Honda was also changing the car industry. In the 1970s, during the fuel crisis, while many companies struggled, Honda launched the Civic, a small, fuel-efficient, and reliable car. In the US, where big gas-hungry cars were common, the Civic became a game-changer. Affordable and practical, it won millions of hearts and cemented Honda as a global leader. But Honda's success wasn't only about machines, it was about people. Soichiro believed in a company culture where creativity mattered more than job titles. He encouraged engineers and workers to think big, share ideas, and take risks. He often walked around the factories, talking directly with workers, listening to their suggestions, and motivating them. To him, employees weren't just workers, they were innovators and dreamers. Even as Honda grew into a global powerhouse, Soichiro stayed true to his character, fun-loving, passionate, and always curious. He believed that building machines should feel exciting, almost like play. That joyful spirit became part of Honda's brand. More than just selling cars and motorcycles, Honda was selling freedom, joy, and possibilities. By the time Soichiro Honda retired in the late 1970s, his company had become one of the world's most respected manufacturers. Honda engines were everywhere, not only in motorcycles and cars, but also in boats, airplanes, and even robots. From Formula One racetracks to family driveways, his vision had touched every corner of the world. Soichiro Honda passed away in 1991, but his spirit still lives on. His story is about more than just cars or business. It's about courage, determination, and never giving up. He showed that greatness doesn't come from wealth or privilege, but from hard work, persistence, and belief in your dreams. Even today, every Honda motorcycle on the road and every Civic that rolls off the factory line carries his legacy. It carries the spirit of a boy from a small Japanese village who believed that no dream is too big if you have the courage to chase it. That is the story of Soichiro Honda, the blacksmith's son who built an empire, the dreamer who turned failures into victories, and the legend who proved that determination can move the world.